Infosys has increased salaries by only up to 10% this year, and it excluded freshers from the overall appraisal cycles. Wipro has selectively given salary appraisals to its employees. TCS has given appraisals between 6 to 9%. Across all the IT service companies, the total percentage increase in salaries has come down drastically. Yes, there is still a range though, that is 0 to 10%. Now, the underlying problem with the appraisal cycles for this particular year is pretty straightforward, that the companies themselves are going through a lot of troubles. There are a lot of macro environment issues, and hence companies don't want to pass on these increments to its employees. But what can you do right now? You cannot tell me that, hey, I'll go and look for a new job, because the job market itself is not good. And if you are used to these 10%, 20%, 30% hikes, that's a huge problem. In this video, let's talk through what are the issues and some of the solutions with respect to how you can tackle these appraisal cycles. And the first issue that I want to talk about is the biases that exist within the appraisal cycle systems. And what are these biases? The first one is the recency bias. You tell me, what is the movie that you have seen? You will remember the ones that you have seen in the last 1 month, but you won't remember exactly the ones that you have seen 10 months back or 12 months back. And the same things happen with the managers as well. They remember your performance in the last 1 to 2 months, but they don't remember what happened in the last 12 months. But unfortunately, your appraisals or the entire salary hikes should be dependent on the last 12 months. So your last 1 to 2 months performance will take an unprecedented level of importance. That's the real bias that we have in these appraisal systems. The second bias is coming from the cultural background that you come from, whether it's the state or whether it is your educational background or whether it is the team that you come from. Forget about these things. Even gender biases exist, and it's not about you, it's about these things preceding you. So you can't change a lot of these things, and they really determine what is the level of salary increase that you are going to get. This is the truth. People believe that, hey, a certain type of personalities won't work anyway, so what is the point of giving them a higher salary? Even if you want to break that mold, it is extremely difficult. The third issue is not with respect to bias, but with respect to how much interaction you have with your manager. In a lot of IT services companies, you directly work with your client. You sit in the stand-up call, yes, and also you report to the client on a daily basis, and the interactions with your manager at best happens once a month. Otherwise, the routine is once every 3 months to 6 months. What will your manager remember? What you have done? Hence, the managers already have a certain bias towards a few individuals who they interact with on a regular basis, and that bias again cannot be avoided. Now, the another fundamental issue with these appraisals or salary hikes is nobody even understands the ratings. You might be highly rated, or you might get a lower rating, or most probably you might get an average rating. And why? Because if you get an average rating, your manager need not go and explain it to anybody. But for higher ratings and lower ratings, they need to give a justification, and only the people who have higher ratings will typically get any kind of salary hikes during these kind of bad times. Now, what can you do to tackle these situations? Before we jump into the solutions, I want to quickly introduce to you one of the boot camps that I am personally running right now. On the weekend of January 27th and 28th, I'm taking a boot camp on management consulting case interview preparation. You will be solving close to 15 plus live cases along with me. This is a small group of 20 to 25 people. So there will be a lot of exchange of conversation, solving. You need to bring a pen and paper live into the session itself. This is an intense boot camp for 8 hours during those 2 days. If you are interested, check the link in the description box. Now let's come back to our discussion on what are the things that you can do to actually get that better salary hike. The first thing that I would recommend is you need to also talk about positive things with your manager. And what do I mean by that? Whenever we go and talk to our managers, our first instinct is to go and ask, hey, where can I improve? This is very common. And hence, managers will think through all the negative situations and keep giving you feedback. But there is another way to also tackle the same situation. You need to emphasize on, hey, these are the 3 positives that I have done. These are the 10 things that I did right in the last 2 months. Or you ask the manager, hey, what did I do well in the last 3 months, last 1 month? Can you give me specific examples? What does this do? You are pushing the manager to remember these things, and it works like a charm. One of the most senior partners at McKinsey, when I was working under him, he told me that whenever you have a feedback conversation with your manager, ask for positive feedback, because that will directly impact your year-end bonus and salary hikes. The second thing that you can do to make sure that you are on that 10% hike rather than 0% hike is, you need to have a constant conversation with your manager. That one-on-one line should be open. You might say, hey Pavan, but my manager never asked me to set up a call. Well guys, this is your career and it is your salary hike. So you need to take that initiative and you need to set up that call. If the manager is not joining, the first time, second time, it's okay. But the third time, they themselves will feel guilty of these things and they will join the call. So please don't ignore these one-on-one touch bases. They have to happen regularly. I would say as much as once every 15 days. And they will remember. If you keep asking them, hey, what is the positive thing? They will remember. Or at least send an email thanking your manager for his or her time after every single these 15-day conversations, so that they remember what they talked about. And this is important at the year-end appraisal cycle. The other thing that you also should emphasize on is whether you are talking with your manager, whether you are not talking with your manager, all these things are okay, but still you need to be comfortable and you need to write these things very well in your appraisal cycle questionnaires. We are trained to treat this as questionnaire. And when do we fill these appraisal forms? We fill it the day before the deadline or 3 hours before the deadline. But the financial implications of these forms are very high. And also we are trained to write about what we did. We are never trained to write about what are the outcomes because of our work. We don't even know that in most of the scenarios. So make sure you are writing about what is the outcome and what is the impact of your work. And hence your appraisal overall questionnaires, when it goes to the leadership team, it is well discussed and there is some content that is discussed during these meetings. And the next point is about your overall upskilling journey. Well, every appraisal form will have, hey, did you upskill? How was your client delivery like? Did you contribute to the organization? All these things are fine. But in my personal opinion, upskilling has to take the priority, because it is not just about your salary hike, but it is also about your overall growth. It will happen eventually someday or the other, right? When you move out of this company, you can demand higher salary based on your skill set. You can't say that, hey, I will go ahead and learn this skill once I join the organization. Why don't you learn in your current organization itself? Take this upskilling as seriously as you can and deprioritize everything else. I would say that will fetch you more salary going forward. A lot of people have been commenting negatively about, hey, you're talking about how AI is impacting the jobs. How, for example, when computer came into the world and typewriters slowly faded away, a lot of new jobs added into the system by themselves. But guys, you need to remember, jobs do get added. But the folks who get these jobs are the ones who are trained on these things. You will not be trained automatically by these companies. If you do it yourself, you can definitely command a higher salary. Please take it as a positive push and start upskilling on the AI front, not just for your appraisal, but for your overall career growth as well. Do let me know if you have any questions and I will try to answer them to the best of my abilities. Thank you guys. See you again in the next one. Bye bye.